Most men never expect it to happen this way. At 57, you were supposed to be slowing down, fading into the background, becoming invisible. That's the script society quietly writes for men. Work hard, sacrifice, build a family, grow old, become irrelevant, but something unexpected happened. You didn't disappear, you didn't collapse, you didn't break, you became free. And that freedom didn't come with fireworks or applause, it came quietly, subtly. Like a weight being lifted that you didn't even realize you had been carrying for decades. You wake up now without tension in your chest. There is no argument waiting for you in the next room. No silent resentment hanging in the air. No constant pressure to perform, to prove, to provide beyond your limits. There is only silence. And for the first time in your life, silence feels like power. Most men never experience this version of themselves. They spend their entire lives inside invisible cages built from expectations, obligations, and emotional debts. They confuse responsibility with imprisonment. They confuse sacrifice with virtue. They confuse exhaustion with love. And by the time they reach your age, they are not living. They are surviving. They walk slower, not because their bodies are weak, but because their spirits are tired. Their eyes don't shine anymore. Their voices carry resignation. They have become men who exist for others, but not for themselves. But you are different now. Something changed. Somewhere along the way, you stepped outside the script, and once you stepped outside, you began to see everything clearly. You began to see how much of your life was shaped by fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough, fear of disappointing people who would never truly understand you anyway. Fear is the most powerful control mechanism ever created. It doesn't need chains, it lives inside the mind. And for most of your life, fear dictated your decisions. It told you to tolerate disrespect. It told you to suppress your anger. It told you to sacrifice your peace to maintain an image. But fear loses its power when a man realizes he has already survived his worst nightmare. And that realization changes everything. Because once you survive loneliness, loneliness stops being a threat. It becomes a choice. At 57, you understand something younger men cannot yet comprehend. Peace is more valuable than approval. Approval is temporary. Peace is permanent. Approval depends on others. Peace depends on you. Approval forces you to perform. Peace allows you to exist. And once a man tastes real peace, he becomes immune to manipulation. Because manipulation only works on men who need something. Men who need validation. Men who need affection. Men who need reassurance. But a man who is complete within himself cannot be controlled. He cannot be pressured. He cannot be intimidated. He becomes sovereign. This sovereignty changes how you move through the world. You stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for your boundaries. You stop negotiating your self-respect. You realize that most conflicts in your past were not about misunderstanding. They were about control. People didn't want to understand you. They wanted to shape you. They wanted to mold you into a version that served their comfort. And when you resisted, they called you selfish. But selfishness was never your crime. Independence was. You start to notice how much energy other men are losing. You see it in their faces. The tension, the exhaustion, the quiet frustration they try to hide behind forced smiles. They are trapped in cycles they cannot escape. Financial pressure, emotional pressure, social pressure. They carry responsibilities that never end. They are constantly needed, constantly demanded, constantly evaluated. They cannot rest. They cannot breathe. And worst of all, they cannot admit how tired they are. Because society taught them that admitting exhaustion is weakness. So they continue, day after day, year after year, slowly fatting. But you are no longer fatting. You are rebuilding. And rebuilding at 57 is different than building at 27. At 27, you built to prove something. Now you build to protect something, your peace, your time, your sanity, your autonomy. You are no longer chasing status. You are cultivating stability. You are no longer trying to impress anyone. You are trying to preserve yourself. And that shift changes everything. You start waking up earlier not because you have to, but because you want to. You enjoy the quiet mornings, the stillness, the absence of noise. You drink your coffee slowly. You think clearly. There is no urgency, no chaos, just presence. And presence is something most men never experience. Their minds are always somewhere else. in the past, in regret, in the future, in anxiety, but you are here, fully here, and that is power. You also begin to notice how differently people treat you. There is something about a man who is not desperate that changes the atmosphere around him. Desperation repels. Calm attracts. When you no longer seek approval, people offer it freely. When you no longer chase attention, attention finds you. This is one of life's quiet paradoxes. The less you need, the more you receive. You also begin to trust yourself again. For years, you doubted your instincts. You ignored your intuition. You convinced yourself that your discomfort was irrational, but now you see clearly. Your instincts were never wrong. You were simply conditioned to ignore them, conditioned to prioritize harmony over truth, but truth always returns, and when it returns, it brings clarity. Clarity is dangerous because clarity destroys illusions. It forces you to accept realities you once denied. It forces you to confront truths that are uncomfortable. But clarity also liberates. It frees you from confusion. It frees you from self-deception. It frees you from false hope. And once you are free from illusion, you become untouchable. At 57, your value is no longer based on potential. It is based on experience. You have seen patterns repeat. You have seen promises broken. You have seen loyalty disappear. You have seen how quickly people change when circumstances shift. And this knowledge gives you an advantage. You are no longer naive. You are no longer easily deceived. You see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This doesn't make you bitter, it makes you precise. You invest your energy carefully. You choose your relationships carefully. You protect your time fiercely, because you now understand that time is the only currency that truly matters. Money can be recovered, time cannot. You also discover something unexpected. Happiness becomes simpler. It is no longer tied to external validation. It is found in small moments. A quiet walk, a calm evening, a conversation without tension, a day without stress. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are everything, because peace is not dramatic, it is subtle. Most married men at your age cannot access this peace. Their lives are structured around obligations they cannot escape. Their identities are tied to roles they cannot abandon. They are fathers, providers, husbands. These roles define them. And while these roles carry meaning, they also carry weight, weight that never disappears. But you have stepped outside those roles. You have returned to yourself. And returning to yourself is the greatest victory a man can achieve. Because when a man reconnects with himself, he reconnects with his strength. Not physical strength, internal strength, emotional independence, psychological resilience, spiritual stability. You no longer fear the future, because you no longer depend on external stability. Your stability comes from within, and internal stability cannot be taken from you. It cannot be negotiated. It cannot be manipulated. This is why being single at 57 is not a tragedy. It is a revelation. It is the moment a man finally understands himself, finally trusts himself, finally prioritizes himself. And once that happens, everything changes.